Well, folks, rumors are swirling around about another lab leak that caused a new virus to spread all throughout the globe. Now, the expectation is that all 50 states should be on high alert as this virus has a very high mortality rate. Its mortality rate is even higher than the COVID-19 virus at more than 50%. And the message is now being spread both high and low that we all need to prepare. Now, it's called the bird flu, and I know it sounds very familiar because we've already talked about this before. The issue now is that they're raising the stakes and they're warning that we're headed for another pandemic. Just 4 years ago, billions of people across the globe, they were unprepared to face the health crisis. It caused deaths up to the millions right here at home. But now that we're supposedly 4 years smarter compared to back then, some medical experts are saying that it's now time to get serious about this disease. However, many critics say they're feeling as if this narrative is being spread out, much like what was done during the 2020 presidential election. And by sheer coincidence alone, we're now facing an election year this 2024. At least that's what they want us to believe, that all of this is just a coincidence and that it wasn't leaked from anywhere. So here's former White House coronavirus response coordinator, Dr. Deborah Birx, talking about it on CNN.
So while I have you, can I just ask, and again, I'm sort of thinking about how does this look if we potentially face another pandemic, which I know, again, everyone in the system is constantly preparing for. We're seeing a lot of concerning reports about bird flu at the moment, the outbreaks in cows leading to tests in milk. I'm getting questions from my friends who are also moms. Is this safe? Is it not? What is the level of concern right now about that potentially becoming a pandemic?
Well, thank you, Casey, because this is why I'm really concerned, because we're making the same mistakes today that we made with COVID.
Okay.
And what do I mean by that? We're not testing to really see how many people have been exposed and got asymptomatically infected. We should be testing every cow weekly. You can do pooled PCR. We have the technology. The great thing about America is we're incredibly innovative, and we have the ability to have these breakthroughs. We could be pool testing every dairy worker. I do believe that there's undetected cases in humans because we're once again only tracking people with symptoms. When we did that with COVID, the virus spread throughout the Northeast undetected because it took a long time to get to the vulnerable individuals. But in the meantime, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people were infected with asymptomatic or mild disease and never came to medical attention. We have to switch from symptoms to actually definitive laboratory testing. We have the capacity to do that today, right, like that.
All right, well, that's cheerful.
Some critics say that she's just a little bit too enthusiastic about a coming pandemic for somebody who's supposedly worried. But let's get to the facts here, shall we? So just recently, the first ever human fatality was recorded for the bird flu. That is the H5N2 virus, which is the more potent variant compared to the H5N1. This report was announced by the World Health Organization. A 59-year-old Mexican resident developed a fever, shortness of breath, diarrhea, nausea, and general discomfort a week before their death. He was bedridden for 3 weeks before passing due to complications from the infection. Now, the message here from the WHO is very clear. This is a deadly virus, and it's one that's now infecting humans. The problem is that they're not even telling us how he got exposed to the virus. He had no prior exposure to poultry or other animals who may have infected him with this bird flu. So it raises a lot of questions here because the bird flu isn't really common in humans.
You know, the weird thing is here is that he was not in any contact with any livestock or poultry, so they're not sure how he got it. Do we know if he was in contact with lots of other people?
A decent number of people, Tom. And so the World Health Organization says this 59-year-old had about 30 contacts. 17 of them were at the hospital. One of those people reported having a runny nose. But, Tom, not one of them tested positive for this strain of the avian flu. Now, here's what's interesting. There were 12 other contacts near that man's house. They said that 7 of those people were symptomatic, 5 asymptomatic. It's not clear exactly what symptomatic means. But, again, none of them tested positive either. Now, were the 7 symptomatic at one point contracting a strain of this virus, but it just didn't affect them the same way, and they didn't test positive by the time the testing actually proceeded, or did they never get it at all? Not clear. But among almost 3 dozen contacts so far, this man is the only one to actually test positive for this strain, H5N1.
In fact, since 1996, when it was first discovered, only 800 to 900 cases in humans have even been reported. Now, what's really alarming, though, is the mortality rate for these individuals was 50%. So about half of them died. Right now, the World Health Organization, or the WHO, is saying that the H5N2 strain's current risk to the general population is low, but it's alarming that it actually even got to this point. Some experts believe that gain of function may be to blame yet again. Back in April last year, a write-up talked about this accidental leak of lab-created viruses in the University of Wisconsin-Madison. The leak supposedly came from the high-security influenza research institute located within the university. Now, before we get any further into this thing here, guys, all I ask is that you take 1 second, hit the like button for the video, and share this information with a friend. I totally appreciate your support. Many critics are asking that we stop saying that these viruses were leaked. There are those who suggest that we instead use the term released, because that's what it really is. Now, I cannot confirm that with the information that I have, but it shows how pissed people are. And it really just kind of makes you wonder why they're not closing down these labs, or at least why they're not closing the doors behind them, because we've been hearing a lot about this gain of function leak for about 4 years now. Now, this H5N1 is not easily transmittable to humans, but experts say that only 4 changes to its genome could change all of that. And we all know how dangerous gain of function research is, right? The idea is that they try and push onto us that this is a preemptive measure so that they can create medication and vaccines to get ahead of any kind of unfortunate outbreaks, which was exemplified by none other than Dr. Jeremy Farrar. You guys remember him, right? He's the chief scientist at the World Health Organization who warned us around mid-April about the bird flu. So according to him, it's only a matter of time before we see human-to-human transmission of the H5N1 virus. But for us not to worry and instead just follow whatever they tell us. He says that we're in a much better position now because they can immediately respond to a possible outbreak by providing access to vaccines, which means that the vaccine for this virus is probably already available. That's a little suspect, and it's probably the reason as to why the WHO wants to get their pandemic preparedness treaty signed by all nations around the world. Luckily, the United States has already said no. Hopefully that doesn't change though. But this seems oddly familiar to what we experienced just a few years ago. And just like in 2020, we're also deciding on the next president of the United States. Is this a coincidence? Now, of course, this is more of a conspiracy theory with critics arguing that this is more like an election variant than anything else, but the concept is terrifying. Kind of reminds us of Dr. Anthony Fauci and how he denied that this kind of research was even done here in our country in the first place, and how reckless this kind of research is in the wrong hands. Now, as far as we know, this virus is spreading, although it's mainly affecting dairy herds at the moment. Problem is, if we get news that one variant that could transmit this virus from human to human, at this point, some experts claim that it's only a matter of time. But what do you guys think? Are you ready to get back to the mandates that we had like 4 years ago? And is this in any way connected to this year's political matchup between Joe Biden and Donald Trump? Now, I understand we all have different opinions on this type of topic. I respect all of our perspectives, but I just hope that we can all be respectful in the comments to one another. So my job is just to make sure that you guys have the information and that you know what's really going on around us. Now, that was the news portion of today's video. Now I would like to introduce you guys to the sponsor of today's video, Abacus Life. So Abacus Life is a prominent company in the field of managing alternative assets, especially focusing on longevity and actuarial technology. Essentially, they're modernizing and making the life insurance market more accessible through 3 innovative channels: ABL Tech, ABL Wealth, and ABL Longevity Growth and Income Funds. Since its inception in 2004, Abacus Life has been buying life insurance policies from individuals who need cash. They then manage these policies by trading, holding, or servicing them. To date, Abacus Life has bought policies worth over $5 billion and has helped many clients get the most out of their life insurance. Abacus Life is unique as it is the only life settlement company that's publicly traded on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol ABL. So this means you can actually buy and sell shares of Abacus Life on the stock market. The company has been mentioned in major media outlets such as CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg, Forbes, and even the New York Times, highlighting its influence and credibility in the industry. In early June, Abacus Life announced that it led the life settlement industry in 2023 by paying the most money to clients, holding a 26% market share according to the deal. They paid $220 million to clients in life life settlement funds for the year, which was a significant 26% of the market share. This amount meant, on average, they paid sellers over 20% of the face value of their policies, which is about 32% higher than what their nearest competitor paid. In 2023, Abacus Life also acquired 640 life insurance policies with a total face value of almost $1.1 billion. This acquisition rate represented a substantial increase of 31.4% from the previous year, which was much higher than the industry's overall growth rate of 4%. Jay Jackson, the CEO of Abacus Life, he expressed his excitement saying, quote, "We are thrilled to be able to place $220 million directly into our clients' hands, once again providing incredible value to our clients. Our substantial growth in policy acquisitions further reflects the unwavering trust and confidence that policyholders have placed in Abacus. We are proud to be recognized by the deal as the leader in funds paid to clients, and we remain committed to providing our clients with exceptional service and delivering them outstanding returns." End quote. Now, earlier this month, Abacus Life announced a new national distribution relationship with AIMCOR, a significant national insurance marketing organization in the United States. AIMCOR works through a network of more than 40 brokerage general agencies, providing protection and retirement solutions to thousands of financial professionals, institutional clients, and other distribution partners across the country. Now, as part of this new collaboration, Abacus Life will leverage its expertise to become a preferred partner for life settlement solutions within AIMCOR's extensive national network. Jay Jackson, the chief executive officer of Abacus Life, he expressed his satisfaction with the progress, stating, quote, "We are pleased with our continued momentum, delivering yet another strong quarterly performance due to our relentless execution and further validating the resiliency and profitability of our business model." End quote. In the first quarter of 2024, Abacus Life's total revenue more than doubled year over year, reaching $21.5 million compared to the $10.3 million in the same period the previous year. This significant increase was mainly driven by a 59% year-over-year growth in their direct-to-consumer division. The higher active management revenue increased capital deployed, and more policies sold directly to third parties contributed to this impressive revenue growth. Additionally, the company launched a technology subdivision named ABL Tech, raised an additional $25 million through the issuance of 9.875% fixed-rate senior notes, and continued repurchasing shares. Abacus Life also strengthened its senior management team by hiring Elena Plesko as the new chief capital officer and appointing Fei Zhu to lead ABL Wealth. Jay Jackson emphasized the company's strategic focus, saying, quote, "We remain focused and committed to delivering on our key strategic priorities by leveraging our considerable technology and data advantages to further drive shareholder value." End quote. The portfolio servicing segment's total revenue for the first quarter of 2024 was $0.2 million compared to $0.3 million in the prior year period. The capital deployed for policy originations in the first quarter of 2024 was $33.3 million, slightly down from the $34.4 million in the same period the previous year. However, the number of policy originations grew by 6%, with 119 policies in the first quarter of 2024 compared to 112 in the prior year period. Now, despite these positive developments, Abacus Life reported a GAAP net loss attributable to shareholders of $1.3 million for the first quarter of 2024, compared to a GAAP net income of $8.1 million in the prior year period. Now, this loss was primarily due to high interest expenses, a non-cash expense related to employee stock compensation amounting to $5.8 million, and public company expenses incurred in the first quarter of 2024 that were not recorded in the previous year. However, the adjusted net income for the first quarter of 2024 was $6.7 million compared to the $7.6 million in the prior year period. The adjusted EBITDA grew by 38.1% to $11.6 million, which was up from the $8.4 million in the same period the previous year. The adjusted EBITDA margin for the first quarter of 2024 was 53.9% compared to the 81.4% in the prior year period. The annualized return on invested capital, the ROIC, for the first quarter of 2024 was 15%, and the annualized return on equity, the ROE, was 16%. As of March 31st, 2024, Abacus Life had cash and cash equivalents totaling $65.4 million, balance sheet policy assets of $126.9 million, and outstanding long-term debt of $131.4 million. Since the start of the company's $15 million stock repurchase program on December 12, 2023, Abacus Life has repurchased 966,000 shares of its common stock at an average price of $11.41 per share, amounting to a total cost of approximately $11 million. As of May 6, 2024, the company has $4 million remaining under the repurchase program, which is set to expire on June 10, 2025, unless it's suspended or discontinued sooner. I am not an investment advisor, and this is not investment advice. Investors should conduct their own due diligence. To learn more about Abacus Life, you can find them on the NASDAQ exchange under the ticker symbol ABL, or you can visit their website at abacuslife.com.